And you led us right into this moment where we are going to focus our attention deliberately for a few moments of meditation. Let me direct your attention, those of you who can see it, to I am, your sign here, I am. And in this case, the I am knowledge is peace, the word peace. I am peace. And so take that idea inward as you close your eyes, as you settle in by breathing a few times consciously, deeply, get your body involved. In other words, get into your body, be fully embodied, so that we have a partner in consciousness. Let the body relax. Let it come into a restful state. Give the instruction to your nervous system to calm and to slow down. Peace. I am peace. Ask your brain to be still and watchful. Ask your thoughts to be still, to be focused on I am. For I am is our divine name. It's a claim on the power and the principles that we wish to know, to live by, to demonstrate with our thoughts, words, and actions. So we begin by recognizing the one power, the one divine mind out of which all thought flows, out of which all ideas come into our awareness, ideas that we can take hold of and bring about creatively. For what we most want to know is that this one power, this God, that is not a person, but is the very atmosphere of all possibility. It is the energy of creation itself. It is intimately connected to our very bodies and beings. So we declare in this time of meditation the radical truth that is so hard to see sometimes when we behave as an only human. It's so hard to see that we are divine. And yet all that is possible to us is possible because we are one. And we rightfully can claim, as Jesus did so beautifully, I am. And what am I going to attach to that knowledge? What am I going to say about the truth of me? This is what I invite each of you in the moments of silence that we're going to carve out right here, is to say, I am, and follow that with some kind of empowerment that you need for this day. I am love. I am strength. I am harmony. I am release. I am. What do you say? I am. In silence, let there be a revelation to your mind of that idea that is for you today. myself that it's possible for me to claim this I am, this truth of me, because God is. Because God is, I am. So in the way of humility, I take this as a calling, this I am, and I strive in this day ahead to be able to utilize this principle or power in such a way that I truly shed some light in the world around me. And as I do it, my own life is blessed. My own life is filled with that quality as I demonstrated in the world. For I am the light of the world. I am that I am. And for this great knowledge, for the reality of it, for my agreement with it, my agreement. You know, if there's a little part of my brain that's just kind of saying, yeah, but, I come back to the truth and just say, peace be still, my human brain. Peace be still. Let me know I am that. For this is the truth that transforms this world and adds light. For it, we're so very grateful. To know this truth, oh, how grateful. And so it is. And so it is. Amen. It's me. Oh, goodness. So people online weren't necessarily able to hear the meditation. Okay, dear friends, near and, on a screen somewhere. Thank you so very much for your participation here, because, it's never one way. A message, it feels like, okay, I'm standing here and I'm speaking, but it is a dynamic. This, right? There's a dynamic. There's an exchange happening here that has never happened before and never will happen just like this ever again. It's a magnificent moment, and I'm so grateful to be with you today. And yes, thank you. So I want to give a little, I think, healthy disclosure, self-disclosure as I begin. My husband and I relocated to Bradenton just 6 months ago, and I have memories of walking through IKEA, which I do as infrequently as possible, but we certainly we were looking for a particular thing, and I don't know if anyone experiences what I do, but I know that my heart races a little faster when I'm walking through there, and I feel almost a sense of panic at times when I contemplate the gajillion pieces and parts that are going to need to be assembled. It's not my favorite thing, and I'll tell you, we got a sofa sleeper. It was far fewer, maybe a couple hundred pieces instead of a cabinet. But, I've done some of these before and not very elegantly. So I was agreeing, with my husband, we would try it. So we got so far, and, there's like 30 pages of instructions, right? So we're doing it page by page. We're attaching all the parts. We get really so far. And then one page I turn and I try to make something work, and it wasn't attaching, and I'm thinking, where did we go wrong? And so go back a few pages, re-examine the piece. Well, we had put one part on upside down. I know you've never done it, right? And I was thinking to myself, if we had just kept going and done our best, I've done that before too, right? And just try to force something to happen, right? We would never have had the picture that's on the front of that book. It never would have looked like that, and it never would have functioned the way it was intended. You know what I mean? So you have to go back then and unravel. It made me think about a time when I was traveling, and I had one of those little disposable razors, that you replace the head on them, and it wasn't working, it wasn't functioning, and I was frustrated because, it should work. It was a new one. I had packed it before I left on this vacation, and after all the trying to figure it out and scratching my head, I realized in one moment when I just stopped, you know, when you pause sometimes, the light comes on. Well, that's what happened. And I realized the head of that razor had fallen off, and I had reattached it upside down. So it got me thinking because, you know, as a metaphysician, holy cow, as a metaphysician, everything means something. You know, even when it doesn't sometimes, you know, I find a way to make it mean something. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking to myself, you know, how many times do I think something is missing, wrong, or broken, right? That something is upside down. And you know, maybe it's not. Maybe it's my thinking that is upside down. And that aha has really made a difference to me, especially in the third book that I wrote with my daughter, Alicia. We came face to face with the dominant cultural understanding that something could be missing, wrong, or broken about us. Now, my daughter was raised in unity, and people would say to us forever, your daughter's so lucky. Gosh, if I had been raised in unity, I'd be so enlightened. Well, you know, she's also lived in the world. She's also been subject to the dominant culture, the Western mind, the Western religious and social culture that gives us some messages that are very challenging to overcome because they get in underneath our awareness. Like, for example, here in a unity community, who among us would admit to the thought that we sometimes act as if something's missing, wrong, or broken about us? Now, I've come to see that's an upside down thought. That's not truth, but it gets in. And in insidious ways, it sometimes interferes with our ability to see ourselves clearly. Do you agree? Yeah, and so, you know, I've been pondering this, and Alicia and I, my daughter and I, we really questioned this as we were writing This Life Is Yours, because for us, we wanted so much to get beyond sometimes the pat answers, right? And the simple things. Well, just turn your mind. Just get off that subject and get onto this subject. And we're like, is it that simple? And if I shoot to the very end of the story, you know, it is that simple. It doesn't mean it's not difficult at times to deal with our own minds that have believed something could be missing, wrong, or broken about us. Do you know what I mean? And really, I only want to spend a few minutes to kind of lay out how insidious this is, this message, and why I believe we need to consciously deal with it and turn it around. It's this. It's that it's in everything from the time we are very young. All of our social training is around this idea that something is missing, wrong, or broken. It shows up in religiosity, for sure, in the religions that so many of us were raised with. You know, not only were we considered considered fallen in nature, we're considered even before we're born. So we're damned before we even come out of the womb, you know? And that just pervades the consciousness of being weak, being unworthy. You know all the refrains of those ideas that are often very core judgments inside of our human experience. You know, right? Some of you are nodding. You know what I'm talking about. For me, to start to see that and to see where do those messages come from? Well, they come from everywhere, starting with our homes and our religions. I mean, my parents were very fond of saying, well, who do you think you are, right? I mean, we got those messages. It's like, don't think so highly of yourself. And so we're trained not to see our good. We really have been trained that way. And women especially get this message, to be self-sacrificial to the point where we harm our own health and all that in service to others. I mean, so, you have probably lots of examples of that. But it shows up also, in our medicine. In Western medicine, You go to a doctor, and that doctor is determined to find something wrong because you showed up there asking about it, and they wouldn't do their job if they didn't find something wrong that needs to be addressed. I once got scared half to death going to a doctor and sent to a specialist who gave me the thought that I was kind of falling apart in all ways, and I scratched my head because one blood test told this woman all of this about me. But the blood test I had had just 6 weeks before showed none of those things that she was so alarmed about. And I'm like, wait a minute. The point is, think about Eastern medicine. In Eastern medicine, their job is to keep you well. And so you go preventatively. You go for that. A whole different mindset than the Western mindset of we're determined to find something wrong. No, in Eastern, we want to keep you at your best functional health, right? The same with our penal system. Oh, guys, you know this. I mean, there's a culture, and I can't remember because I read about it a long, long time ago, a culture in which when someone violates the social norms, when someone is a wrongdoer in that community, the community brings that person there, not on trial, but to remind them of what they know is the truth about them, to tell them of their goodness, to tell them of their roots and what is possible, and to ask them to begin to demonstrate that in a meaningful way by doing some kind of constructive service for the community. That's so foreign to the way we have been operating in our country. And I'm not going to get into political debates with any of you. Please just not enter into that conversation. But the point, you hear what the point is. The point is that our mindset, right, the underlying fundamental belief system says something's wrong with you. Something is missing, wrong, or broken about you. And so when we have perfectly human experiences of illness or job loss, or, you know, our sweetheart left us, you know, either died or left us, right? One way or the other. When we have perfectly human experiences that are sorrowful, that are painful, that require some time of healing, when we experience those things, you know, how are we experiencing them and what are we making them mean? For most of us, unconsciously, we go right to something's missing, wrong, or broken. We don't mean to do that. It's not what we really want to believe, but it is just so darn insidious. So what do we do about that? You know, because really the upside down, you know, is that message. The right side up is this. You are 100% human. Yep, you are. And you are 100% divine. 100%. The human gets a lot of attention. Am I right? The human gets a lot of attention because it's right in front of us, right? It's the physicality is very hard to escape, right? And so the question always is, and the discipline in spirituality has always been to be able to look to our divine nature, right? To be able to get to that. Very hard to do when my human circumstances are so persistent or so entrenching, right? And the messaging that I'm getting from the world around me reinforces that idea of something missing, wrong, or broken. And the identity that we can build around that idea of what's wrong with me, what's my disease, right? My illness, my struggle, that it's very challenging, even when we want to be able to get above that or to see from another viewing point, right? To be able to pivot in our awareness from ultra focus, you know, from you know, just being so mesmerized by the conditions, by what's going on with us, that we have trouble just diverting our mind, turning our mind to the 100% human or 100% divine that we are, to be able to access all that capacity that it's hard to see when we're, you know, focused so much on what's happening in our experience. So friends. You know, to me, this is the real trick. This is the real work of spirituality. And I have to tell you, you know, I've been all around the unity movement, from churches, teaching classes, speaking. You know, I have tons of unity minister friends and colleagues. You have a leader who, if you get to know her, you see that she lives the truth that she is teaching. You see a woman whose life is a demonstration of the principle of 100% divinity. 100% human. She's got amazing humor. She feels her feelings deeply. You get to experience all of what she is. You know, she brings all of herself to this community. You know this. And she absolutely has disciplined her mind through spiritual practice. It's what it takes is practice, not to be perfect, but to progress, right? To progress. Practice makes progress. Disciplined her mind and teaches. Any of you, I mean, and she is a quintessential teacher of unity principles. So how fortunate are you to have someone who's worked on mastery? You know, she works on, I'm not going to say she's a master because she wouldn't like me to say that, but she is masterful in some ways that I think you are very fortunate, and I'm very fortunate. I am very fortunate. So please know that you have access to someone and all whom she's teaching to be able to support you in this. So just think about this. What's possible? And this you'll find in This Life is Yours, all kinds of ways and practices to help with this. But so that 100% human of me is experiencing an illness process, some diagnosis that I was given, right? And it's so easy to be despairing, especially if it's a rough diagnosis. Exactly, right? And if so many people are living with really chronic conditions that are very long-standing and can be very challenging to lift up enough to see your life in a fuller way, right? Because a disease, and this is just one example, it could be any kind of trouble, right? It doesn't have to be a health challenge, but for an example, a health challenge, you're having to deal with on the ground, having to deal with doctor's appointments and protocols. You have to go to therapies. You have to change the way you're eating. You have so much to occupy your mind and your day with just to get by, just to get through, you know, a healthy day sometimes. And to be able to pause long enough to be able to notice what you're feeling and what your experience is, and to honor your 100% human. You know, see, a lot of teachers will tell you just set that aside and go right to your divinity. Well, your humanity is part and parcel of your divinity. What if we're not separated at all? It's not this or that. 100% human, 100% divine. 100%. You're 100%. And so honoring rather than discounting or trying to set aside, trying not to deal with the emotion, the real human experience that you're in, to me that's a dishonoring. So honor that experience. It's just we just don't leave it there. That's all. We honor it. We cry on someone's shoulder. We write in our journal and scream. You know how many letters I wrote, you know, just trying to do some forgiveness processes or other things when I knew that was part and parcel of what my human trouble was at the time. You know, do what you need to do humanly, and then write yourself a spiritual prescription. You get plenty of medical prescription, right? Write yourself a spiritual prescription and say, there are things that I can do that will remind me of my divinity, that will remind me that I am never hopeless. I'm never broken. There's never anything missing, wrong, or broken about me spiritually. Let me look to that spirit. Let me claim my
I am. Let me claim some capacity here, because if there's only one power, and if I am 100% of that power, then I can find something about that power that is my capacity to be able to act. So, for example, in this situation the example that I was giving about health, I could say, I am divine life. And what are the aspects of that life? Well, wholeness. Wholeness is my nature. It means I can't be just a bunch of fractured parts. There can't be this foreign growth inside my body that's happening. There can't be spiritually that. It might be showing up on an x-ray in the physical world, but spiritually, that's not what's true of me. Let me look to the spirit. Let me claim I am wholeness itself. I am divine life. And then when I start to claim that, how can I actualize that? How can I live more into that? Let me devote at least as much time as I'm devoting to my medical care or to my, circumstances. Let me devote at least as much time to spiritually studying about wholeness. Let me learn about what my life is really about. And let me choose some habits that I haven't been practicing because I've been feeling weak. I've been feeling unable. But let me find my able. What am I able to do? Okay, so I haven't gone outside because the air, I'm worried about breathing. Let me find a place of peace where I can revel in nature, where I can breathe deeply and feel the joy of the life around me, right? This is such a simple thing, but the simple things are the things we set aside when we're hurting, when we're in need of healing. So let's circle back. These are just some of the potential that we have when we are dealing with the process. Spend at least as much time on being alive as we've been spending on trying to keep our bodies alive. You get where I'm at? All right. So here's the full-on truth. If I'm 100% human and 100% divine, where does healing happen? How does healing happen? When we're operating upside down, when we believe something is missing, wrong, or broken about us, that means we feel unable. What do we do to heal? We look to a savior. We look for a doctor. We look for a deity, God, to save us, to heal us. When we are right side up, okay, this might be radical for some of you, I know. Take a deep breath if that's you. When I'm operating right side up, I'm 100% human and 100% divine, I heal. You hear me? I heal. And how do I do that? I heal by honoring my human experience and leaning into my divine identity to be able to find my capacity to be able to live as fully and as well today as I possibly can. I heal. Are you with me? So wherever you're sitting in that upside down, right side up, wherever your experience has been, I just urge you with a minister's heart, I urge you to find your able. Find your able. For nothing about you could ever be missing, wrong, or broken. You are divine. And the world will be thrilled to know it, to know you, see you demonstrating it. It's no different than what Jesus did. Think about this. Jesus stood with someone in his divine, knowing his divine nature, in his I am consciousness. Jesus stood with someone else who was hurting and asking Jesus, heal me, heal me. And Jesus never said, I heal you. No, Jesus said, take up your bed and walk. Take up your bed. What he's saying is, take up that crutch. You're thinking that you're so unable. Take that up and go walk. Go walk. Walk in principle. Take up the principle of wholeness. Take up the principle of spiritual strength. Take up a principle that you need to heal. and then heal your life by studying that principle and using it every day in your thinking and in your actions. You got this. I'm so very grateful to be with you. Thank you for this time, and thank you for being the light of the world that you are. Yeah.
Carmen's going to take our picture. Oh, a picture. Thank you. I told you she was magnificent, didn't I? I've been telling you, we've been saying for weeks, you need to come today. You need to be sure and watch. This is so good to have you here. And when we get done, Linda and I will go out and go to her book table, so feel free to come and have your copy signed. This is the time in our service when we get to give back from our good back into this ministry. And so I invite you to take your tithes and offerings in your hand. And if you're watching online, there's Breeze or PayPal. We're so grateful in advance for your generosity, for everyone. So let's say our blessing together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, that this is so. And so it is. Namaste.